It's Monday and I'm off to Paris this afternoon. That's Paris, France, not Paris, Texas. And I'm going to this conference that I've mentioned a couple of times, the Making Sense conference. So I'm just starting to get a wee bit nervous about this. Actually, I keep being nervous about it. I get waves of anxiety, as you do. I'm sure it'll be fine, you know. But I do have to kind of wrap my head around various things, you know what I mean? Because I don't know what I'm supposed to be. I'm an artist in residence, and I'll be making videos from there. But exactly how and what circumstances and what it'll be like, I have no real idea. Except that it's at the Pompidou Centre in Paris, we shall say. Anyway, yeah, in the kind of the run-up to this conference, there's a what's it called, a listserv. There was a listserv called Empire. It's quite a well-known listserv, email distribution list, which is, you've got some fairly heavy-hitting media pundits and theorists and academics and writers and artists contributing to. It's called Empire, Soft-Skinned Space. I'll put the link in below if anybody fancies joining a listserv like that. It's good. As I say, this last couple of weeks leading up to the Making Sense conference, Empire has been kind of hosting discussions about this Making Sense activity. In fact, I was invited to introduce myself to the list, which I did, which is weird actually. Yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about actually, because I've been reading. It's a very prolific list. Lots of people post, and they are good posts. But I couldn't keep up with all of it. And other stuff I did try to keep up with, I have to say I didn't understand all of it. It is, in places at least, quite. It's just outside my comfort zone in terms of understanding, really. And that got me to think about understanding. And then when I was invited to introduce myself, I thought, geez, what do I actually understand? What do I feel confident about saying in this public forum? And not this public forum, not YouTube, but the public forum of Empire, Soft-Skinned Space. What do I feel confident about saying there that I'm kind of prepared to stand by and say I understand, as opposed to the half-baked bollocks I tend to come out with here. Come on, pups. So basically I just said what I do, maybe I'll make a video just reading out what I said, but it was just something like, about the fact I walk my dogs and talk to myself and make videos and just nuts and bolts really, the bog standard stuff. Yeah, so I did all that, but it got me thinking about understanding, and partly because some of the postings on the Empire listing were to do with authority. So that got me to think about authority and understanding and making sense and all of those kinds of things. Because a lot of the time when I'm talking, either on YouTube or in other kinds of forums, it's very rare I get that sense that I know what I'm talking about fully and understand what I'm talking about in the way that I understand the ground under my feet, or I understand, the weight of this camera in my hand, and and understand these trees and dogs. It's very, very rare I get that sense. I'm constantly chasing it. I'm constantly chasing the solidity of that kind of understanding. The firmness of the sense that it seems to bring. But I very rarely achieve it, and even when I do achieve it, I don't quite trust it. I don't trust it. I don't really trust understanding as a phenomenon, really. I suppose here I'm harking back to some stuff I did a while back in these videos about the feeling of certainty and what it feels like to know something, and how easy it is to get the feeling of certainty when the grounds for that certainty are very dubious indeed. And we know this from all the discussions around various theisms and various pseudo-knowledge structures that exist. You can't doubt the sincerity of people who say that they are absolutely certain that they know a certain thing, or that they understand the way the world works, or whatever. You can't doubt the sincerity of these people, but at the same time you know that they're wrong from your own experience. So this idea that we might seek not just some kind of empirical understanding, not just some kind of data readouts that tell us what what's true and what's not, for want of a better word. But the feeling which is supposedly accompanies that, the idea that that's a goal, I don't know, as I say, I have a large amount of mistrust about that. I'm not sure if the sense of understanding something is ever going to really match up to the sense of the ground under my feet, or the camera in my hand, or the dog in my vision. And if, as I say, if it does, then what's the significance? Because so many times, as I say, even, you know, we are all proved wrong. You know, the things that make sense to you when you're a teenager, you know, about, you know, I can well remember, you know, reading some I remember the first time I came across Scientology, actually, not so much Scientology as the, what's it called, Dianetics, that kind of cod science version of Scientology. You know, because I read the book Dianetics, and I don't know how I came across it, when I was a teenager, quite a young teenager. I thought, fucking hell, yeah, this makes perfect sense. And, you know, one of the directives in that is that all creatures have this primary directive, which is to survive. It seems capitalised in the book, first chapter. Oh, fucking hell, yeah. Of course, it all makes sense. And we've all got engrams, and we used to get ourselves on an e-meter, and we'd be fine. It made sense, but by which I mean, it gave you the feeling of sense. It had all the components that sensory engagement has. It has, you know, all the arguments join up like the boundaries of some solid object. You know, the boundaries of solid objects join up, don't they? Front and the back are joined to each other by the sides. And the front and back of the Dianetics argument felt like that. Like they were joined together by the sides with the word survive written on them. Yeah, and I remember, and yeah, I can absolutely remember that. And I've had that feeling many times since. You know, reading something and the lights come on and you can see this object and it makes sense. And that's like understanding. And that understanding feels like something standing underneath you and supporting you, and from this elevated position of standing on this object of understanding, you can see a bit further and it all feels fantastic. You maybe even feel a bit superior, and certainly I felt superior at various times, because I felt like I've possessed some kind of understanding, and I've placed that understanding underneath my feet and stood on it as if it's some really firm thing in the world, and it isn't. It's just my understanding. Yeah, so that feeling of being certain is a bit of a strange one. I know it's ridiculous ambition. You know, I should just fanny about with this stuff and enjoy the poetry and the synchronicities and the imaginary constructions as they come across. You know, and to the extent that they match up to experience, and to the extent that they, you know, provide explanatory power of some kind appropriate to context, then maybe that's enough. And I should just enjoy the flow of uncertainties, perhaps, and the constant making and remaking of sense. Sound all postmodern now. I'll get Dana Garrett. Yeah, Dana, sorry. I'll probably get Dana Garrett on my arse now, accusing me of being postmodern. Sorry, Dana, I don't mean to take the piss, but, you know, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, so that's that, really. Understanding. Deepak Chopra comes to mind. I'll just say this and I'll finish, because I don't want to go too far. Deepak Chopra, who is, let's face it, spurious, bogus, fraud. But for some reason, this is so irritating, he's been invited to speak at the Consciousness Conference, the one that's organised out of Tucson, you know. Fuck's sake. You know, for a few years, you know, consciousness was a serious area of study, and still is. But it's not bloody helped, you know, if people like Deepak Chopra are invited to speak at academic conferences. It just throws the whole thing into disrepute, in my opinion. I know people like yourself, Matt, and maybe yourself, Silver Soul, and one or two other people will disagree with me there, but I just think it's apples and oranges. You're not talking about the same thing, and it's better when they're kept apart. But anyway, Deepak Chopra, just in relation to what I'm saying, he has this quotation which I've used before and I quite like, which is that he says the same processes which allow us to see this buzzing cloud of atoms as a tree, it's those same processes allow us to see God, he says. You know, we make sense of that object called a tree using the same processes that we use to make sense of abstract concepts like God. And I think he's right there, I have to say, much as I hate to admit it. But I think there is some kind of relationship there between the, you know, the kind of mobilisation of sensory activities around visual perception in this case, and the logic of that we do mobilise to form not just percepts but concepts. And you put it all together, and what do you get? Big dog. Big dog. Yeah, anyway, that's it. Understanding, sense, Paris. Yeah, if anybody on YouTube, I should name names but I won't, I'd love it if you could contribute. I'm going to be making a few videos from Paris. The sound of the aeroplane above my head has made me nervous again because I'm flying this afternoon. I'll make a few videos from the Pompidou Centre and other places, I guess, hotel rooms somewhere. And it'd be lovely if people could join in the discussion in some way. I'll see if I can tie it into what's actually happening at the conference. I guess that's kind of my job, isn't it, really? As official conference reporter. It's the conference of the birds, isn't it, Phoebe?